Have you tried moving from one place to another? Going to the city to buy some stuff, for example. Of course, we all experience the same thing. And no matter how long or how short our trip is, we all travel or move for various reasons. And in today's lesson, we will unlock the reasons why people move and settle in the city. This is our group's presentation of movements and settlements in the city. These are the objectives. At the end of the lesson, the students should be able to share students' ideal site location and factors that made them to do so. Second, be precise about how movements and settlements in your barangay or locality affects urbanization. And finally, explain the diversities of settlements and how it impacts urbanization. There is no concrete definition of the word city. Others describe a city based on the population density. Meanwhile, others associate it with people whose livelihood is not agriculture. Movement is traveling in respect to distance and time. Now, our ancestors are nomads, so movement is not a fresh concept. But let us trace where movements and settlements began in the city, which is the United States. Prior to industrialization, let's say for example, there are 10 workers who cultivate a hectare of land. But because of the advent of the machines, only 2 workers are needed. So what will the rest of the workers do? They move to the city to survive. These are the advantages or the possible causes why people move to the city. Now we have first, plenty of job opportunities. Do you still remember the song, Napakaraming guro dito sa amin, ngunit tila walang natira, nag-abroad sila. So, many flock to cities for jobs because of the presence of many factories and other industries that demands service. Now we have number 2, comprehensive transportation. For example, subways, trains, airplanes, and others. Now we have number 3, you will meet new people. So cities are melting pot of multiculturalism. So you will meet people of all races. And who knows, among the people you met, you might find your Mr. Right. Sounds exciting. Now number 4, vast entertainment options, shopping, and restaurants. Now we have arenas for concerts, theaters, cinemas, and with shopping malls and expensive restaurants. These are all available in the city. And in the city, there is a wide range of choices waiting for you. Next is best medical services. So if a patient has a critical condition, he or she is recommended to be transferred to the city because of the abundance of doctors, nurses, and apparatuses. Now next is high salaries with remote positions. So minimum wages in the cities are higher compared to rural areas. Other workers did not even pursue their degree because of in-demand jobs with high salaries. How about you? Would you be willing to work with a high salary but hate your job, or the other way around? Now we have the disadvantages in moving to the city. First is high cost of living. So in Japan, for example, your salary is, let's say, 60,000. So that's a huge salary. But you have to pay for your rent, which costs 20,000. And you still need to pay for other bills and food. So imagine how much will be left in your salary. Next is high crime rates. So because of population density, city people are vulnerable to crime, such as human trafficking, robbery, and so on. Now let us proceed with settlements. So settlements refers to any place as tiny as a single house or as enormous as a megacity. So if you live there, then that is considered a settlement.
Settlement refers to the cluster of houses over space which manifests the socioeconomic conditions and the environmental constraints. Thus, a settlement has both physical and social structures. It is not only about the concrete houses but also about who resides there. The settlement is an expansion of the socio-historic, cultural, and religious perception of a man in a given geographic environment. The settlement factors include in an area's situation include the accessibilities of the location, the extent of a place's connection with another, and how close an area may be to raw materials if they are not located specifically on the site. This is the example of settlement from the size and location. The history of settlement. Earth estimated to be formed about 4 billion years ago. Homo sapiens, the one existing species of man, believed to date from about 500,000 BC. Earliest man did not settle anywhere. So, why this earliest man did not settle anywhere? It's because they gathered and hunted food and evolved behaviors that helped them respond to the challenges of survival in unstable environments. For millions of years, all humans, early and modern alike, had to find their own food. They spent a large part of each day gathering plants and hunting or scavenging animals. They wandered around in search of food, did not know how to construct buildings, so lived in the open, occasionally took shelter on the top of trees to protect themselves from wild animals. So why they wandered to search food? It's because if they stayed in one place and not going to settle to another place, their food will be over. They followed animals to hunt and look for fresh source of plant-based nutrition because these people food supply depending on hunting animals and gathering plant foods. They were called hunter-gatherers. Aside from that, whenever they felt short of danger around the area, they are immediately leaving. Knowing that they don't know how to build buildings, the earliest man decided to live at the top of the tree to protect themselves from wild animals. Toward settled habitation, up to 10,000 BC to 5,000 BC, some of the earliest settlements began to take shape, as you can see in the pictures. Settlements, they consisted of groups of houses built by the side of agriculture fields. Some inhabitants continued to live in the caves and wandered around for hunting animals. Earlier settlements grew near the river valleys due to the availability of fresh water for drinking and irrigation purposes. Soil near the river valleys was also fertile, which helped in agricultural activities because of the easily available water for irrigations and the favorable climatic conditions that helped their crops to grow. Some may settle and build houses. However, there is still inhabitants continue to live in caves as they are used to eat and do hunting animals for their foods. Looking at the first picture, they are the inhabitants who settle and do agriculture for the supply of their food. The second are the inhabitants who continue to live in caves. Settlement hierarchy is when settlements are put in an order and classified based on their size, the range of services that they provide for people. The increase in the size of settlement, population, and service is the increasing number of settlements. From the isolated house or farm, hamlets to villages, next villages to small towns to large towns, then cities, large cities, or conurbations, lastly, primate city or capital. As you move up in the settlement hierarchy, the size of the settlement increases, as does the population and the range of services available. Smaller settlements tend to provide only low-order services such as post office and news agents, whereas larger settlements has more high-order services such as leisure centers and chain stores. As a result of this, the larger the settlement, the greater the range of services and therefore the market areas of sphere of influence.
The next topic is the settlement in order of size. First is the megalopolis. It is an extremely large city or urban city area where a lot of people lived and ang mga taong nagapuyot dito is more than 10 million people. The example sa megalopolis here in the Philippines ay ang Mega Manila sa Luzon. We all know that Manila is the capital city of the Philippines, and there is a more than 10 million people who lived and worked there. Next is the conurbation. So conurbation is a group of large cities and their suburbs have strong connection. For example, the Metro Manila comprises the city of Manila and the 15 neighboring cities like the Pampanga, Makati, and Quezon City, and etc. Next is the metropolis. It is a city and surrounding towns that are in close proximity and have started to merge into each other. So there's a 1 to 3 million people na nagpuyo dito. And metropolis is a large city and create a variety and high order centers, maybe an international airport. Examples of metropolis here in the Philippines is the Metro Manila. It is a vibrant, rich, colorful, fun, and everything in between. The Metropolitan or the Metro Manila is the major gateway to the country's 7,641 ang Northern Highland. So the next is the large city. So a city with a large population and many services. So there's a 3,000 or 300,000 to 1 million people who lived and worked there. Examples of large city is the Quezon City here in the Philippines. So, a Quezon City, daan ka makitaan, for example, train, the LRT and MRT, malls, big buildings, mga infrastructures, mga bus, different kinds of transportation, and also a lot of people nga may nagbo nimo. So, the next is city. A city would have a wide range of services but not as many as a large city. So, sa city, there's a few universities unlike sa Manila nga there's a hundreds of universities na imo makitan. So, city is an inhabited place of greater size, population, or importance than a town or village. Sa city, you can see different transportation, but dili pareha sa large city nga sobra kaayo. For example is sa large city na ay train, MRT, ug LRT. Sa small city, wa kay makita nga MRT ug LRT. Examples to Megati, ang naara nga transportation is the bus, pedicab, motor, and other transportation nga makita nimo. So, sa city, makakita po kag mga malls, mga buildings, and etc. And it is a industrialized area kay there are different kind of services nga imo makita sa city. The next is the large town. A large towns now see a much more varied range of shops available when people compare to villages. So there's a lot of streets with the houses, and also it is an industrial area where you can buy a car and different services. So there are 20,000 to 100,000 people who live there. The next is town. Towns see an increase in services, for example, na ay senior school, police station, a few streets with houses, a few shops, na gagmay nga building, para sa Shaton. In Shaton, we have shop, mga boutiques, and etc. And there's more than 1,000 to 20,000 people na nagpuyo sa small town.
So let us define hamlet and village. So hamlet is a small settlement that has no central place of worship and no meeting point. For example, a village hall. So let's define village. Village is also a small settlement, but it is usually found in a rural setting. Since it is very confusing, let us know their differences. So what are the difference between hamlet and the village? So a hamlet and village are two similar types of human settlement. It is two similar types of human settlement. The key difference between the two is their size. Because a hamlet is typically smaller than a village and consequently consists of smaller population and a fewer numbers of buildings. So these are the picture that represents a hamlet. And this picture represents a village. Okay. So, but remember, but both hamlet and village are smaller than towns and cities. Take note, they are smaller than town or cities and cities. It is also important to note that a term hamlet may have different definition in a various geographical locations. So now, let us discuss the types of settlement. So the types of settlement, we have urban settlement, rural settlement, compact and dispersed settlement. So let us define each settlement. First is the urban settlement. Urban settlement is where the place population settles within an urban agglomerations such as a town or city. So the example of urban settlement is town, cities, contribution, megapolis, and million cities include the major urban settlement. So the third is the compact settlement. So compact settlement is a closely built area of dwelling wherever flat land is available. So we have the example of the compact settlement. So sometimes people live in a compact settlement for security or defense purpose. So kanindi ay siyang compact settlement, usahay ang mga people magpuyo sila diri for their security. So tapig ni siya or defense purpose. So the greatest example of this type is in the Bundelkhand region of Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh. So let ato ni siyang i-flash og unsa ni siya nga lugar. So in this adjustments, also people in the compact settlement, because of the scare ability, a dispersed settlement is also known as a scattered settlement, is one of the many types of a settlement patterns used for landscape. So historians to classify rural settlement found in the world is a settlement function. So the function of a settlement is the main activity that settlement has. It relates to the main job of a place has. For example, the main function of the Belfast would be
settlement function. So the function of a settlement helps to identify the economic and social development of a place and can show its main activity. Most large settlements have more than one function, though in the past, one function was maybe the most important in defining the success and growth in importance of the settlement. So the main functions of a settlement are, well, for example, market town, so where farmers will buy and sell their goods and materials. Second, we have mining town, so where minerals and fuel might be extracted. Industrial town, so where raw materials will be processed into manufactured products. Port, a place where goods can be imported and exported. Route center, so a place where several important roads or transport links will meet. Service center, so a place that will provide for the main needs and services for people living in a particular area. Administrative center, where government offices and departments will be located. Residential town, a place where people will live but will travel to work somewhere else. Tourist resort, where people visit to relax and enjoy themselves. Settlement site and situation. Okay, so site. This is the place where settlement is located. So example, on a hill or in a sheltered valley. So situation. So this describes where the settlement is in relation to other settlements and the features of the surrounding area. So example, is the settlement surrounded by forests or is it next to a large city? So what is the site and situation of a settlement? So, the site and situation of a settlement are very different things. So, the site of a settlement is the land upon which it was built. There is a range of human and physical factors that determine the site of a settlement. So, the factors that affect the site of a settlement include relief. So, the shape of the land affects where buildings are constructed and flat land is preferable for building. Wet point site. So, these are sites close to a water supply or a supply of water essential for agriculture, drinking, washing, and cleaning. Dry point site. So, these are sites that avoided the risk of flooding. Defensive site. These were sites that were on high ground and allowed the inhabitants to see enemies from distance. So, aspects. Many settlements in the northern hemisphere are located on south-facing sides of valleys where it is sunny. So, quality of the soil. So, if the soil is fertile, a settlement is more likely to develop. Shelter. Away from rain and prevailing winds. Training point. Often settlements develop where natural training points meet, such as along rivers or national roadways. Resources. Many settlements developed close to where natural resources could be found. Accessibility. So accessibility can be increased by the presence of roads or water bodies, so allowing a settlement to grow through trade or migration. So after the establishment of a settlement, its growth may then depend on its situation. So in relation to the surrounding environment, the size and functions of surrounding settlements, access to natural resources such as fuel and fertile soils, and roadways. So the situation of a settlement is its location in relation to surrounding human and physical features. So we usually describe the situation when we are telling someone where settlement is. So the situation of a settlement is the description of the settlement in relation to physical features around it and other settlements. So the situation of a settlement is the most important in determining whether it grows to become a large city or stays as a small town or village. So in the UK, London is an example of a city with an excellent situation. So it is located on flat land, the River Thames, with excellent links by road and air. So the importance of settlement can increase and decrease as they fulfill different functions. So the situation of settlement significantly influences which of these will happen.